Okay.
Sorry.
No.
I'm actually a JBS coordinator from before Caleb. This was my territory. And I am currently on the JBS Speakers Bureau, which is another service that the JBS offers. And I have quite an interesting story to tell. About 7.5 years ago, I took my two young sons, they were young adults at that time, 18 and 20, on the adventure of a lifetime to go live in the country of Chile, in the great big city of Santiago. And we went through a pretty amazing period of time of growth, personal growth, of learning another language, of redefining ourselves, of finding ways to support ourselves, to learn Spanish. And along that way, some interesting things happened. But back in October, the country of Chile suddenly burst into civil unrest, something that I had never experienced in my life. Chile was formerly a country, as one of the few who had successfully chased out communism out of their country in 1973. And so it was a great, interesting model for that, and yet it appeared to be communism that was rising back up in Chile. And so I'm going to be speaking about that subject on June 12th. Bob, help me out. It's a Saturday. Bob, where are you? What day am I speaking? 12th?
It's the 12th.
June 12th. Thank you. June 12th at 7 o'clock here at this location. So if you're interested in hearing more about how a country that was very suppressed from communism overturned it, kicked it out, threw it away, became an economic miracle, and then suddenly seems to be destroying itself again, the question is, could that happen here? So that's what it'll be about.
Okay, we're going to start Q&A, and then I'm going to leave these cards up here. If you want to, if you don't get asked your question, or you want me to call you, or any message or whatever, please do one of those, and then I'll put them up here. And there's pins in the back, and that way I can keep people straight, because I usually scribble them all over notebooks, and I find them months later. And then I have a sign-up sheet in the back. If you do not get, I have a Vote Heather Scott, and I have a Representative Heather Scott. Representative Heather Scott is legislative. It's what's going on in Boise. There's never going to be a call to action on my work site, but if you have Vote Heather Scott, you'll know when I'm speaking. You'll know other things. So I can specifically talk to Bonner County or Boundary County with that. So who has the first question?
I have one.
Oh, the back room. Let's go with them. Yes.
Is the only way to impeach Governor Little is do that Facebook page to recall Governor Little, or is there a different way?
Okay, so the legislature. What's the question? Okay, the question is the only way to impeach him, Brad Little, through the Facebook site. So citizens can recall a governor, legislators can impeach a governor. So there's two different approaches. So the recall is being organized by citizens. It's being organized on Facebook, but they're highly organized, and they're training staff, or they're training people in each county to take signatures. And we talked about this earlier, and you were late. So, but I forget the question. Yes. There's going to be signatures. It's going to start June 1st, and they're going to need a lot of them up here. Yes.
They're going to have a booth at Liberated
Oh,
America at the Kootenai County Fair.
that's right. Kootenai County Fair on the same night as her event. Oh, June 13th. June 13th on a Saturday. They will have the petitions there also. Okay, in the back, and then Eric. Go ahead.
Yeah, Pastor Warren Campbell. I pastored the only church that did not capitulate to Governor Little in Boundary County. Because the authority of Jesus Christ over his church was what was that issue. But now, I appreciate that. I want to thank you for telling folks to get local. I'm reading right now from the Bonners Ferry vision statement for the city of Bonners Ferry. They are now embracing the homosexual, sodomite, gender identity politics. They're listening to what's known as the Human Rights Task I've already contacted one of the council members. They know that I'm going to be speaking as soon as they start having meetings again. If you are opposed to the fact that they are letting you know they are an inclusive city who embraces the sexual orientation or gender identity and encourages their participation in the city of Bonners Ferry. We need to rise up, folks, locally. Thank you very much.
Eric.
I was at that city council when they co-opted Coeur d'Alene years ago as a former pastor, and not enough people showed up. So we need to not have that happen here in this this awesome city. Please stand up before you're muted.
Amen.
Amen. Support your pastors, Lynn Pine and Warren
Yes.
and people.
Amen.
I had a question on the same kind of impeachment thing. Obviously, there's a recall from the citizenship, but with our legislature, the First Continental Congress is the precedent. They didn't get permission from the king in England to meet. They got together as a continental legislature and met even in secret if they had to. Does our legislator have a backbone to meet and come together as a legislature to push back?
So we're not in session right now, and our leadership does not want to call us back into session. So I could drive down to Boise or fly down to Boise and say, hey, we need a quorum, let's all meet. The problem right now is
Zoom call.
the problem right now is most of the people that are standing up for the Constitution, that the establishment have run candidates against them. So they're in really heated primary races, fighting for their positions. So I know that sounds crazy, but if you don't know that you're even going to live another day, it's like you don't put the pressure. So they're trying to keep their heads above water. Campaign, that's going to be over June 2nd. I think you're going to start seeing some more action after June 2nd. The Speaker of the House has given himself cover, like, oh, I've tried, but we just don't have the legal authority to do it. But we do, and I've talked to lawyers that say we do. We are an equal branch of government. We have a governor that is out of control. He will not communicate with his lieutenant governor. He is passing all kinds, he's getting rid of all kinds of administrative rules and things that were there to protect citizens. I know he's done something with parental rights recently that I'm looking into. So he over 125 and then another 10 and then another, I think 25, all those numbers I told you of the executive orders. So you have some in the legislature that want to do something. It's just they're in bad positions right now to try to press, but we're outnumbered. I mean, unfortunately, we're outnumbered.
So hopefully after the primary?
Well, I don't know that you'll even see that. I suspect, well, if it's up to leadership, they want to wait till January 1st to address this issue. And it's like, the problem is, these people haven't had primary opponents themselves for 4 to 6 years. So why do they care? They're running the show, and that's the problem. No people are putting the pressure on them. How they represent the people. What they don't want to tick off the IACI and these big conglomerates of cronies, because that's their bread and butter in their next election. So it's really frustrating, and there is a way for us to call ourselves back in, but they won't address it, and they're like, oh no, the Constitution doesn't give us that authority, we can't do it. I disagree, and some lawyers disagree, but they won't even pursue it. Okay.
Heather?
Yes, go ahead.
So just a couple of quick questions. Maybe you don't have the answers to some of these. I phoned to our city hall and asked for transcripts of meetings that they've had with upper Idaho officials, and there are no transcripts. Is it legal, and should we not require, especially in a time when we're under a state of emergency, that transcripts be made by our local county officials and city officials with
Yeah, we should. That's the very first thing that the governor did, is got rid of something with open meeting laws. I mean, that was the very first, one of the very first things. I don't know exactly what he did to it. I have someone right now going through all the administrative rules and laws he got rid of. Ultimately, we're supposed to be in charge of government. And nobody has ever said, hey, we want you to keep records of everything. So you're going to have to put that pressure on from the citizens, is we want this recorded. And if they refuse, then you're going to have to go the next step. I mean, maybe they have to pass a state law to do it. Government moves slow. We've been complacent. I mean, when's the last time anyone's contacted city council? Probably not much. So now they've been doing it their way forever, and now all of a sudden we want transcripts. They're like, hey, we've been operating like this forever. So there is a way. Those would not be considered open meetings, because they would say we're not making decisions. They always do wiggle room. I mean, you're up against a beast, and you gotta get if we would have more good, honest, constitutional people run for those positions, you'd have someone recording it. Do we have a candidate here?
Yeah, right here. Come sweet.
Oh, I couldn't even. Philip, I couldn't see that far back, I'm embarrassed to say. Sorry. So you have a county commissioner running right in the back there. So you get bad people in government. We get the government we allow. So I'm not saying that they're bad people. Maybe you say, I want everything recorded now, and they will, because they work for you. But if they ignore you, I mean, and the same thing's happening with the conference calls with the legislators. They got all the legislators on the phone with the governor. It somewhat seems like this should be public. Yeah, I mean, this is government talking. Really, he's basically, we ask questions and he decides if he wants to answer them or not, and tells us what he's doing. I mean, it's pathetic. Okay, go ahead.
So another, I'll keep real quick here. Under the Title 46, the Militia and Military Affairs, Chapter 10, State Disaster Preparedness Act.
Yes.
Number 2, it says that no state of emergency may continue for more than 30 days unless the governor deems it should continue for more than 30 days. So we're beyond 60 days. At what point does his emergency act end? Right?
So my last newsletter, I addressed this, because what he did was he just did an emergency, and then within that he cited, oh, now we're in an extreme. He changed the language, and I don't think people caught what he was doing, but he put us under martial law. So you go read under the martial law thing, it's anything goes. There's no, the Idaho code, it's like just really not clean. So really, that's what he's using, to just do anything goes. He's a tyrant now, and he's in control.
Does the Attorney General agree with that?
Don't get me started on that. I mean, so we get the government we allow, and that, I try to keep my mouth shut, because he'll come after me, and he has. So we get the government that we allow, and we're not we've allowed some bad players to get in there. Let's do someone behind you.
You just mentioned earlier about civics and Idaho Constitution class, and how can we get that started, get it to our kids, get it to us?
It's a great program called Center for Self-Governance.
Yes.
And I'll give you, I think it's csg.org or com or something like that. And so Center for Self-Governance. And if you get a group of people together, they'll come up and do it in person. They do it, they'll do a screen for you. I forget what it's called, but that's who it is.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. How about the guy in the back, and then Donna?
So in regard to the response teams, I appreciate what Sheriff Wheeler is doing, but some of us in Coogan County, we don't have a sheriff that will on board with that. So what do we do when we see County? Whitehead? Whitehead's not sheriff. It's Wolfinger, his name, I think. So what do we do when we get a response team and the 10 come and say, hey, we're not doing this? We can't call the sheriff. He's not going to be on board with that. What is your thought? How to
I don't know. That's- Oh, go ahead, Caleb does.
So we just recently had a event in Spokane where our sheriff, Knezovich, is no friend of any patriot. Okay. We had an event, we had 2,000 people show up. Okay. When they're looking at that, and in Spokane County, there's about 500 law enforcement capable people in the entire county. That's police, sheriffs, park rangers, federal agents. There's only 500 of them in the entire county. When they're looking, they're seeing 2,000 people show up to a rally. That's how you respond to that.
Good job. You guys stay up here. Yes. Oh.
The Freedom Foundation just had a survey for all the sheriffs on Dave Kramer asking if we would enforce Governor Little's orders or no, we would not. And I voted no, that I will not.
Donna.
Amen.
You guys got a good sheriff up here. You gotta protect him. They're worth their weight in gold.
For mayoral and city council elections, they do not have to defend their partisanship, so you don't know if you're getting a Republican or Democrat, whatever it may be. I would like to see legislation where they have to be accredited just like commissioners, state officials, everyone else except city and council and mayors. So when you look at that?
That has been proposed. I think we had a bill on that last year, and it's been run the last 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. So there is push to fix that. So,
Anyone also mentioned about the Liberate America, or did we speak on that?
yes, so there's an event on the 14th, 13th, at what time? 12 to 10, 10 at night, with music and speakers, and are they going to have booths?
Yeah, there'll be
Booths and a big Liberate America event.
Where is this at?
It's down in the Kootenai County Fairgrounds. It's free.
There's
And-
flyers in the back.
And there's flyers in the back. Okay.
Heather, can I just comment on Donna's comment there about Republican, Democrat, local?
You bet.
And so, what I did is I wrote down a list, and I didn't necessarily call everybody. I didn't get a hold of you, but you're on my list. And I just had questions. So sometimes,
Caleb.
Caleb said, sometimes Republican, Democrat doesn't matter. Maybe we don't want to vote in a Republican. Oh, sorry. Maybe we don't want to vote in a Republican because maybe their voting record, or what would be their voting record, is really bad. I made up a list, and what I did is I just said, for current issues, what would you have done with COVID? Well, I asked, what's your top issues in the county or town? What would you have done in the event of COVID? And then I said, where do you stand on abortion? Tell me where you stand on abortion. Tell me where you stand on marriage. One man, one woman versus homosexuality. And I think that some of the questions like that is going to tell us a whole lot more than our Democrat or Republican. So just make up 5 or 6 questions, real simple, and just ask the questions. Because these guys are all available. You get a hold of them with the run, you got to be able to get a hold of them.
That's my number. I've been putting it out everywhere. I'm one of the few that put it on everything that I send out.
No, I like that a lot. That's a great idea. I actually have 2 questions that I ask every politician. The first one is, what is the purpose of government? And you get a whole lot of different responses to that, right? But it's pretty easy. To secure rights, right? That's the purpose of government. The other one that I like to use, and I'm actually stealing this from Matt Shea, but if you really want to know if you're dealing with an elitist, ask him how much a gallon of milk is. Yeah. Yeah, it's very telling.
Okay, who else? Questions? Oh,
Just concerning the TRACE Act.
yes.
I've watched video of the governor of Washington speak about that. I haven't watched Governor Little's response to it yet, but there was never a word of mandatory in the Washington governors. I don't know what Governor Little's state is. So far, it doesn't appear that it's mandatory, but that it will all be voluntary. But, I mean, I'm still against it.
Well, and if you look at a lot of his orders, they were never mandatory. A lot of Governor Little's stuff, well, it first came out really strong, then he backed off on the language and kind of, you know, so with the tracing, there is no way they're going to do this mandatory in Idaho. I don't, maybe in Boise, but it's not going to happen in any of the rural counties. Someone's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And so I don't see it happening. Question out the window.
I apologize if this is already been covered because I can't find it here. But did you tell everybody about the new venue I was speaking at next?
Yes, we did. Thank you. Okay. Go ahead. Just ask your question. I can't see very. Go ahead.
I manage a local business, a bar in town, and I decided to try and open the 15th of April, okay, when the first mandatory thing was done. We opened for 2 nights, and then the town posted on their Facebook page this little, I took it as a perceived threat. Our good sheriff in this town, he just said that he was not going to enforce these stupid laws. The city said they weren't going to enforce the things, so I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a go to see if I can get my business or get this business, going so I'm not going under. And the town put in this, the city has received calls and questions about businesses that were not included in stage 1 rebound plan and have reportedly been violating or may be violating the stage of reopening outlined by Governor. Stage 2, stage 2, the stage at which restaurants and beauty salons may be open with an approved safety protocols in place is set to go up on May 16th, blah, blah, blah. Bars, nightclubs opening in stage 4 which is set to go into effect June 13th. That would be me. Further down the thing it says, you all should read this because this is your town mayor and your city council that can put this into place as a little perceived threat. It was kind of a threat to me. Basically, it went on to say that if I chose to stay open, that they were going to enforce the state of Idaho's alcohol beverage licensing division, the state police, the division of occupation and professional licensing, and my bartenders have children, and I'm sure that child protective services would have been called in if I had just kept going. If I was a rich person, instead of such good looking, I would have stood up and just gone to jail for it. But I couldn't have my employees be put into danger, so I backed off. I really strongly suggest whoever is in town, I don't live in town, but not only was my business hurt, there are 2 other businesses that are in the building that Jack's Pub is in, and we have been giving them a real deal on their rent to try and help keep them afloat so they can be able to stay afloat and continue their business. They are, one's a massage place and one's a hair place, and so they're under the same rules that Jack's is under about not opening. Now, the governor wiggled from what I've been told that we can open on the 30th instead of waiting until the middle of June to open. People, you really need, if you're a town person, I'm sorry, I know your mayor just got elected, but you guys need to do something bad because he's not standing up for his businesses in this town.
He also said that he would try to revoke your business licenses.
Yeah. And this is where you need to look at your county too, and maybe you want to loosen up your county code a bit and let some of these bars or restaurants or stores be outside of city limits so they don't have the control from the city. You got something to say? Oh, so we don't have the city controlling these jurisdictions. Do you sell food at your store or your bar?
Not really, and I thought of that, but we'd have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops. Our kitchen
You have a tyrant, yeah.
What happened to you is an absolute travesty, honestly. The Constitution, or sorry, the Declaration of Independence has 27 grievances that are laid out in it. Okay? One of them is, he has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. That's exactly what happened to you. So, when I see this crowd, you know what I see? I see a tyranny response team. Okay? They come in there, these bureaucrats, these unelected bureaucrats, and they come in here and they try to take away her right to work, to provide for her family. What do we got here? Maybe 200 people in here?
Yes.
Every single one of you standing in front of that business, not allowing that bureaucrat to enter. That's what it's coming to. That's what we need to be able to do. We need, as Heather said, we need that phone tree. You need a response. You need a team that can establish, that can go to a business like that and get in the way, stand in the way of tyrants.
We will.
Okay, the guy in the back, and then we'll go over here. So,
I was going to say, it's nice to hear the county sheriff say that he will not enforce these laws, but will he protect the citizens of the county when their rights are being violated by the police or the state? It's nice when they do, and they should be doing that, but if they don't, we have to stand up for each other. That's really where the rubber meets the road. We got to watch out for our neighbors. When they come to arrest our neighbors, pull our neighbors' permits or licenses, or tell them they can't do business, they're taking food out of our children's mouths.
That's right.
And we say no, because as soon as they're done with her, they're coming after you.
Yes.
good point. Go ahead.
Hi, I am a resident of the city of Ferry. I've been a resident of the city of Ferry ever since I was annexed in from the unincorporated county. What I will say about our current mayor, you're talking about rotten apples, every vehicle he has in his business fleet, his car, and his wife's car are registered in the state of Montana. He's not paying the item abuse tax, and he's violating the Internal Revenue Code by the mileage on those two vehicles that are being used as personal vehicles, he cannot deduct from his taxes.
So I think you guys are working on a plan to expose a tyrant and remove him. And you can do a recall on mayors. I don't know the process, but you can. If they can do it on the governor, you can do it on your mayor, and you probably don't need as many signatures, and you're going to be getting them for the other guy. Go ahead.
His wife was on the board of directors for the school board. She would drive her Montana licensed vehicle to all of the meetings, and she was telling us, taxpayers in this room, that we're going to run an M&O levy down our throats. And they said they're going to run it once, and they run it 4 times until that finally passed. And then she was driving this.
Okay, let's. I want to hear it, but I don't want to. If someone's not here to defend themselves, let's just. You guys work it out, figure it out. But let's just because they can't defend themselves, they might have a good reason. We don't know. Go ahead in the back.
Hi, my name's Ed Ernest. My brother and I own the Community Housing Motel on the old John Deere building. And I go to church, at Pastor Campbell's church. I can tell you this much. Law enforcement came there. They said, we're behind you 100%. That's the chief of police, the sheriff, both of them working together hand in hand. They stood behind our church. And that same sheriff is up here right now. My wife passed away not a week ago. He was there. His arm around me, praying for me. He was there. So,
Okay, who is it? Raise your hand or stand up and talk. I'm sorry, I can't see up there.
Comment earlier, further to Dr. Purcell's comment about knowing the party you belong to for the candidates. The question I have, or the concern I have is you can ask them, but as we well know, one of the people running for office here in town has always been a Democrat, but has now changed the affiliation to Republican. So it really doesn't help to answer that question, ask that question.
That is a huge problem in our state, that all the Democrats join the Republican Party because they know they're not going to win on the Democrat, and so uneducated voters will, they'll get the Democrats to vote for them and the uneducated. And I think that's something that's really good, to educate new people that move here from different states, because they don't get that, they don't understand it, but it's run rampant. And I don't know what's going to happen with the elections this year, because it's all mail-in. Many of these precincts are over 50% voting. Over in Bonner County now, it's normally about 7,000 people voting. They're up to like 15,000. So I don't know if the Democrats are super organized. We're going to find out after this election. But it's just what they do, and you can't. They've done a couple laws to say you can't change it within 3 months, but they don't. They're just. Yeah, you guys have a hardcore Democrat running for your county commissioner up here, so.
He says that's not important, what's your affiliation? There's a red flag right there.
Okay, how about another question? No more?
Do we know what's happening to the homeless? I travel for work and they're disappearing everywhere I go. Where are they going?
Where the homeless, which ones? Like from Bonner?
Seattle's empty. I couldn't.
Oh, yeah, they opened up the sports arenas, and they're opening up the sports arenas for the homeless people. So my guess is.
They say, but I can get a hotel anywhere in the city. There's no homeless in them.
They're saying the sports arena is what I saw.
We're worried that, in 99, they took all the people off the FEMA camp over there in Sandpoint. What's the question?
Oh, sorry. The question is, what's happened to all the homeless people? Because he drives to Seattle, he's not seeing any homeless people anymore.
COVID.
Yeah, they could be COVID deaths. Just a joke. That was a joke. What's that? Okay, I can look into that. If you fill out one of those cards and put your name and number on it and homeless, then I'll call you. I'll ask around and see what I can find.
Homeless first, off the street.
And what'd you say? The same.
The Nazis ran that same day, homeless off the street first.
He's saying that's the same thing that happened in Germany. So.
And they're doing the thing is, my wife's from Europe. They're doing it in Europe.
And they're doing it in Europe. So that's his concern with the homeless. So if anyone knows anything or hears anything, let me know and I'll connect with him. Okay, what was your question?
I'd like to know what happened to Marbury versus Madison. I mean, these things are not constitutionally sound, and they're not legal. They're just not legal. I mean, it's already been decided in the Supreme Court. Period.
It's complacency. It's years and years of indoctrination for our kids. I mean, look at the crap they're teaching them in school. Sorry.
Trump has said that, okay, sorry. Trump has said that knowledge is power. And right now, as we stand, we don't have the numbers. And so it's our responsibility as patriots to go and educate other people. Because if we don't bring up the numbers, we're toast.
Yeah, the demographics are killing us in this. They're definitely not in our favor.
So talking about indoctrination in the public schools, I know obviously they're closed now and they are closed for the rest of this school year. Have you heard anything about if they really are opening in the fall? Because I've heard that they're talking about January, some people on the school board, about opening public schools. We're looking into homeschooling because this was a joke. And I agree with the whole indoctrination. That's what it's all about. So.
I do think they're going to open the schools back up. I just saw some CDC requirements for the school, or suggestions. Yeah, and so someone sent it to me. They're on my phone, but I just turned my phone off. I saw some videos of how we're going to open the schools, but I would not put I mean, don't get me wrong. There's good teachers in the schools that love kids, that love you know, the Constitution, but they cannot freely teach the kids. There's agendas that they are being forced, there's books that are being forced, there's ways to teach the kids. You know, I always go back to the Common Core. If you've ever seen how they do math, it makes no sense, but you do it that way and you get the answer right. If you do it that way, you get points. If you don't do it the way they tell you, that makes no sense. They're teaching these kids to obey. Even when it makes no common sense, you just obey. And so, I would not put my kids back in those schools. And I don't know, maybe you can get some of the good teachers out of the public schools and open up a church and get this homeschool program they have. I've heard talks on it, and it's a great program, and it's for all the kids.
Yeah, Freedom Project Academy, if you want to talk to me afterwards, it's a great program that we have. But there's a lot of other great programs as well. What they're doing here is they're tacking universal truths, or as our founders said, natural laws, right? So math is a natural law. I can see that 2 + 2 = 4. When I violate that natural law, well, I'll try to run a budget like that. I think that's how the government's doing it, right? Okay. Now, gravity is another example of a natural law, right? So can government, say I'm a politician and I feel that, you know, I think probably about 75% of this room would really like the ability to fly. So you know what I'm going to do as a campaign promise? I'm going to suspend gravity. All right? So, hey, you go first. Go ahead and go up on the roof. You go ahead and jump. I've suspended gravity. It's going to work, all right? You see how stupid that is? It's ridiculous, all right? Homosexuality is another example of a violation of natural law, right? You cannot procreate that way. And when you violate these things, there's a lot of repercussions that occur with that. So, yeah, come see me afterwards. Love to talk to you.
So there's a response team organizer already, sending a list around if you want to be on the response team for Boundary County. Okay, go ahead. Let's go the guy behind you first, because he hasn't asked a question yet.
Do I have to answer a question or ask one?
You can answer one.
I might not be very articulate with this, but it's been something that a few of my friends have been talking about. And it's when Big Brother shuts off the communication, we're already being censored. Your phone's going to be worthless. You will have no internet. You'll have the tin can running over to your neighbor's house, maybe. But what kind of mechanism can we as patriots and believers in Christ put in place so we're not doormats, but we're connected even though we're all over the place? Because I don't know about most people in here, but myself, I'm very cynical. I'm very paranoid, and I don't believe or trust a lot of people. So the mechanism that has to be in place, you have to be able to trust the person you're calling or the group you're calling with your life. Because we're not talking anymore about we might get a ticket. We're talking about we might have to take up arms. And differing opinions, and who cares about that right now. I'm just looking at the mechanism that could possibly be in place so that we're not just feeling alone. Because a cornered cat, you know, it could be bad. But if we have a group like you've been talking about, well, where's this group? Where's that mechanism? Where's the thing that puts all that together?
So it starts with you, and it starts with your neighbors.
I knew you were going to say that.
You know, I have all these analogies I always want to add to my speeches, and my husband's always like, yeah, you got to stick to the basics, but I'm going to give you this one. We've all put on a few pounds, right, over the last few months. We all want to lose weight, and we want to do everything to do that except eat right and exercise, right? We want to, you know, do anything but eat right and exercise. And the bottom line is we have a republic. We have got to be engaged. We are part of the equation, and I don't know if I said that. I had it written down somewhere in there. We are part of the equation. We've just taken ourselves out of the government equation. And so we're you know, who has the structure for this, or we are the leaders. We are the people we're waiting for to do something. We are the ones individually that have to say, okay, we're going to do it. Let's just do it. I'll just tell you, when I got into government, I didn't know anything about government. I thought everybody went to Washington, D.C. That's what government was. That was about 7 years ago. Okay, so you have to just say, I'm going to do this. What do I got to do? Google, use the internet while you can. You know, you figure it out and you do it. And I will say, in your case, Amron is set up with ham radios. They do call in, it's an emergency Patriot network system set up, and it's the one I mentioned earlier, and I'll give you a contact for that. And you can start plugging in, but a lot of things are going to be word of mouth locally. I mean, you don't, maybe stuff, but you don't want to put it in writing. And the way they can manipulate videos and audios anymore, I mean, they can make you say whatever they want you to say, and I've seen it. So, you know, just do it, and then let us know what you did, and then we'll do it. Question? No. Anybody else? Yes.
They have the Oath Keepers of Boundary County.
Yes.
They're big into ham radios and that stuff, if you're interested in that.
Yes.
They do a lot of good things.
So the Oath Keepers up here, they meet monthly, first Friday of every month, and they really train for scenarios. I know one time they were like, okay, have all your stuff together, we're going to spend 3 days in the snow out in the woods, you know. So they train, and they'll train you, they'll help you with your radios. Ham radio is a good place to start, but they'll even set you up with the small Baofangs or, but what is it? Baofang. Okay, so they'll set you up. So I would encourage you to go to some of their meetings. First Friday of the month up on the top of the second hill. Homestead Building? VFW. Okay.
Are there any ham radio operators in here right now?
Oh.
Has anybody read, there's a ham radio, I had read that, I can't remember California, Nevada, or whatever, that they want to dismantle towers because they said that they're useless. That's
California.
So how do you prevent that?
Taking down repeaters.
How about 3 more questions?
I don't want to take others on.
Way in the very back.
Many on Facebook are doubting that martial law was in fact enacted. Can you tell us when that happened?
Yeah, so it's, I don't have his order in front of me, but it's the code he used. It's in my last newsletter. Can somebody pull that up on their phone?
What's the question?
When was martial law enacted? He quoted it in his order. So I got to turn my phone on, but I will get you when he did it. But he did it in one of his orders. The second order, when he said an extreme emergency. If anyone has my newsletter on their phone, To the Edge of Tyranny and Back, I put it on there, what he did. So, how else can he get away with over 60 days? There's no restrictions on him. And it talks about that. I'll send you my old newsletter, and it talks about that. Go ahead, right there. 46602. So that's what he quoted in his executive order or his proclamation. I think it was his proclamation. Go ahead.
Hi, Heather. Mark Mosley.
Hey, Mark.
Is the Constitution the law of the land, the highest law of the land that we have, or not? So I'm talking federal and then state. Are those the highest laws that we have? Yes. Does the governor have the right to supersede those whatsoever even under martial law?
No.
That said, shutting down businesses, disabling people's ability to support their families and feed their families, is that a right? Can these people that have businesses around here continue to stay open regardless if they have a license or not from the state, based on the fact that they have a superseded right to feed their families?
You bet. Yes.
There we go.
And that's what when pastors would call and say, can I open my church? What do I need to do? Nothing, because it's unconstitutional. You go ahead.
No. I don't want to keep interrupting you.
No, that's fine. I'm sick of hearing myself.
Romans 13 for Americans in 3 easy steps. God, Constitution, civil authorities. All right? It's that simple. So these, and I've taken a lot of heat from pastors and Christians that have said, hey, you need to submit to the governing authorities. All right? I am. Okay? There's a hierarchy, once again, to that order. So when somebody is as a Christian, is following the illegal edicts of a governor who is operating outside of God and the Constitution, they're the ones that are actually in the act of rebellion. When I am submitting to the proper authorities, I'm the one, under Romans 13, that is actually operating correctly.
That's right.
Mind deferring a minute to Pastor Warren to elaborate on Romans 13?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys are patient. All right.
What I've learned, I finally found a constitutional great lawyer that actually understands the Constitution and says just because you're right doesn't mean you're going to win, because you got the corrupt courts. Then you look at the ballot we just did. Nobody has challengers. I don't know if they're good or not, but it doesn't matter because we don't have anyone running against them. So, once we clean up this side, we got to do the judicial. It's just, we've been complacent for way too long. Go ahead, and then right here, and we'll wind it down. I do not. I bet you do.
No, I really
Okay. I know we were working on.
He is having his appeal at the end of this month. That's all I know.
I should have done that before I got here. I know that we were working on a letter from the legislators, but I don't know where things are, so I apologize.
So if some of us would consider running for office, like you did,
Yes?
and, not trained in that area, but willing volunteers, how would you recommend that we figure out what we're supposed to do?
At the position, or what position?
Anything.
So I would just start with your passion or something that you're frustrated about. I would start, I would start where your heart leads you a bit, or I don't know. You have to understand the structure. Like if you think city is the problem and that jurisdiction, you might want to go to a city council meeting. But I think in my earlier engaged citizen, you just go to the meeting and bring a notebook and sit in the back and doodle. And they don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing, but you're saying like, could I do this? You got to go to the meetings. I bet most people in here, and I don't for my area, but I don't live in city limits, so I bet you don't know when your city council meets. I bet you don't know when your county commissioners meet. Do they meet once a week? Do they meet every day? Who's your fire commission? Do they meet? How much taxes? You got to understand all that, and then go to a meeting or go to your library and look around and say, gosh, I don't like the books. Who do I talk to? I just ask a ton of questions. That's what I do. And if I'm too embarrassed to ask, I just have someone ask them for me and get back to me. So just ask questions and see what your interest lies. Maybe you want to save the kids from the schools. I don't know. Maybe you want your school to not teach sex ed to second graders. Kindergarten. So you got to figure out where your passion lies and then pursue that. Or that's what I would do. That's the best place to start. That's where I would start. And make sure your family's in order. Then you go out to government. So your kids are. You don't have kids. Yeah, they're gone. Okay.
Last one.
Okay.
Why isn't there millions of civil suits against politicians trying to take our civil rights away?
I think it comes down to money.
Yeah.
And lawyers are, lawyers want to be paid. And I think from what I've talked to, there are some lawsuits. I talked to there's a guy from Bonner County that's been doing a lawsuit for the churches and for Idaho. And he says it's going to be around $30,000, which I go, how do they get paid so much? But I don't know what all it takes, but it seems like it's expensive. And that's usually the roadblock. And I don't think there's maybe not as many patriot lawyers that go, I'm just going to give you my time, or I'm in a position where I can just do it.
And remember that
Yeah.
So if they have an unlimited funds, people like you don't.
How about 2 million people in one hospital?
I agree.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the best way to deal with politicians is at the ballot box. You run someone against them and you take them out, or you embarrass them, or you harass them in a legal way, emails and phone calls, and until they basically don't like their job so much anymore, right? Like maybe it's not worth it. So there's lots of ways to approach a problem. There's the legal way, there's the political way, and then there's some other ways.
Pissed off enough that when you see that something is not being done correctly by local officials who've gone the legal way and gone to meetings and the informative, then you get to a point where you say, you know what, enough is enough. And then you go and you sue. But it's got to be done on a point where you are confident that you're in the right and you're willing to take the heat. Okay, so for the woman that was able to get into politics, I'll tell you how you do it. You go read the comprehensive plan for Valley County, and you get an interpretation of that for the boundary regulations that come out of that, and that's your starting point. So if you have a concern and you want to see what's going on, that's how you start.
Yeah, or and then the other thing too is you can go to a meeting and go, oh my gosh, that lady's making decisions for me. I can do that. You know, you start to go, these are the people running my state. I mean, I can do that. So you start to just say, really, they're not looking out for my best interest. I would look out for, you know, I'm sure, and you pray about it, right? Yeah. Is this what God wants me to do? Maybe that's not what not everybody's going to run for office. Okay.
I have a question. It's a little off topic, but it's so relevant. Where are our rights concerning the 2020 census? As I know, many of us are probably going to have knocking on the front door.
So I just read something that said the only thing that they are required to get is number of people and the sexes, maybe? Do they do? Just the number of people. So remember, no government official can come in your house. I don't care who they are. I don't care if it's those people that check your flow meters or whatever in town. What do they call them? Backflow meters or whatever. No government official can come into your house without a warrant unless you let them in. And if you let them in and change your mind, you can ask them to leave. Your house is your sacred place. And I've got reports of police officers down in Meridian telling people that if they're in city limits, so CPS can come in and out. They don't have any rights. They don't need warrants. And these are police officers.
That's not true. Fish and game can go just about anywhere they want, and that's the problem.
In the state of Idaho, they can walk into your house and go through anything they want without a warrant.
I will check on that because I do not think that's completely true. So I will say, I'll just brag about something because it's really hard to get a bill passed. But one of the bills I got passed, and it took me like 4 years to do it, was a local guy up here, Steve Tanner. He kept, is he here? I don't know if he's here. Okay, and so he said, so they've changed the law to where it said with or without a warrant, they can search your stuff. We got that removed. Yeah. Now, just because it was in law, it wasn't legal still because it's not constitutionally. Constitution will trump the state law, but the state law said, yeah, they with or without a warrant, they can get into the house or they can do whatever. We got that taken away. So I'm getting time to go. We have an hour and a half drive. How about anyone has like a burning question? They just, yes.
Do you want to let them know that you're going to be back up here for the Well-Armed Woman meeting? So if they were interested in wanting to be a part of that,
guns. We're going to talk about guns and red flag laws, and that is on June 5th.
Out at the Church of Nazarene, on Meadow Creek Road and Highway 2, at 2:30.
Has everybody got that? So that, and then if you're from out of town and you want me to come to your area to talk, I can do this more.
When will you be in Sandpoint?
I haven't scheduled that one yet. The only one I've been scheduling is here in Priest River. But if you want one in Sandpoint, they need one in Sandpoint. Yeah, let's talk and coordinate something. We need a big venue for that. Maybe I don't know. No, that might be too big. They need it though. They all need to be in that one at Sandpoint. Okay, so no more last burning questions. Don't forget the cards. If you're not getting my Vote Heather Scott stuff and you want to be on that list, I think there's a sign-up sheet at the back. I have some bumper stickers back there with guns on them and hats. I don't know if there's any hats left, but my goal is to never give the newspaper a dime. So if you wear my gear, that helps me not buy newspaper ads. Oh, the cards are right here. Well, I'll put them in the back. Why don't? And there's pins in it. Will you run this on the back table? They'll be in the back table as you leave. And thank you for coming out tonight. I hope it was worth your time.
Come see me for an application.